Bitcoin on the daily, and we are looking at a few indicators in particular, starting with the Fibonacci. We know Bitcoin is breaking out, having a really nice push into the extension levels. So we're going to talk about the Fibonacci. We're going to talk about the RSI, how we're looking at this daily overbought RSI, as well as the stretched out MACD. This is the moving average convergence divergence, which I've talked about in other videos. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. Really solid move up here for Bitcoin, making new all-time highs, hitting the 123 mark. So that's the current all-time high for Bitcoin. And let's jump into what I'm looking at and how I'm sort of thinking about this price action and where I'm expecting to see this market move. And, first things first, this RSI is clearly overbought. We're up here at around 79% right now in terms of uh, buyers versus sellers. So roughly 80% of the market has been buying just in the past. I think I have this setting. Yeah, so over the past 50 days, we can say that 80% of the market has been buyers. Okay, we see this nice pullback over here when we sold off initially from 100K down into 75K. We got huge initial support right here on the RSI off that 50% control level. Okay, so we got that really solid push up, and now we've made new all-time highs. Now, what we really want to watch out for on this RSI is the divergence. We want to make sure that when we're pushing to new all-time highs in terms of price, that we're not making actually lower lows on the RSI. So we don't want to see this start to trend down like this while the price moves up, because that would confirm like an RSI divergence, which is usually a bearish signal. So I'm watching that carefully, especially on the daily, a higher time frame, and looking at the RSI on a longer time period. Usually you look at the RSI, on a 14 or 20 period. So this is a more, it takes in more data, right? There's 50 periods that it's looking at. So it gives me a little bit more information, than the typical RSI would give you. So that's a little bit concerning. All right. 80% overbought RSI. It's getting red, starting to flash some sell signals. Okay. And then the MACD, we'll zoom in on that. We can see the MACD is getting into some pretty stretched out territory. We saw the 100K pullback right here as well on the MACD, and came down into oversold territory and got bought up. And since around June 9th, we've been pushing up higher, and now you can see we're getting into some caution territory up here on the MACD. Okay, so that's another thing that's definitely piqued my attention. All right, so now we'll jump into the price, and we'll just pull up the actual price chart. And we are looking at this on the linear scale rather than the logarithmic scale. So this is just a normal chart for Bitcoin. And so you can see, guys, on the Fibonacci, the most recent Fibonacci that I've been able to put on the chart would be this pivot high to this pivot low here. Again, so this is the 100K sell off to 75, and you can anchor that from the top to the bottom. And you can see when the price pushed up above this momentum line, it's basically a 50 period moving average with some smoothing involved as well, and also some volume weighting applied to it. But you can see it's a very solid indicator that can tell us whether the market's going to move up or down. So as we pushed up in April 13th, we started to push up, and we hit this initial resistance off the 1, back down to the 78.6, back up to the 1, and back down to the 78.6. So we got confirmation that this Fibonacci was accurate and that the market was really going to be respecting these levels. So we were confident that once we broke through this 1, we would push up into the extension levels. And we battled this 110K level for quite some time. We spent almost 3 months up here trying to break above this initial resistance. And now here we are in the extension levels, pulling back off the 141. Okay, so now we'll drill into this price action a little bit here. Jumping into the 4-hour time frame, you can see huge initial resistance off of this 141 indicator. So initially we pushed up, got resistance off that 118K level, right? And then momentum kicked in and pushed us up even higher. And then, 2 4-hour candles. So within 8 hours, we were able to push up from 118 to 123. And you can see now the sellers are finally starting to come back into the market. They have been getting liquidated. We saw over 700 million in short liquidations yesterday. So, they are cautious to get back in to take these short trades. But, when all these indicators are flashing at the same time that it's, a good swing trade, you will start to see pullbacks happen. So this is totally expected. It's totally normal. We still think that eventually we'll have to push up higher into this 161 extension level around this 130K mark. So that is the next stop for Bitcoin. But we did call out that there might be a little bit of a short opportunity here as we just pull back from, this 141 into the 127. And then just zooming in a little bit further, we'll jump into this 1 hour. And this paints a pretty clear picture to me what is happening with this price action. So now you can really see the respect that this indicator has been getting. Huge initial resistance off the 127. You love to see that because it just confirms that you've basically drawn this tool correctly and that a lot of market participants are also looking at these levels, because when you're in price discovery and you're in new all-time highs, there's not really much to look for in terms of resistance other than extension levels. So if you know how to use these correctly, you can spot where the price is going, right? These big moves, they're not irrational. They don't just pump up and then sell off at random spots. They are pushing towards certain levels that have significance, right? So look at this huge wick of a candle here right off the 141. And then you can see, boom, we sold off, coming right down into this 50-period moving average. So clearly still very bullish. Still looking very bullish. I think this pullback will likely get gobbled up. Now, if we open up the RSI on this lower time frame, let's hide the MACD. So you can see the 1 hour RSI, right, is pulling back. It's actually almost getting to an oversold level. We can see that it was pretty overbought right here and started to show divergence. This is what I talk about when I say RSI divergence, where we had a lower high on the RSI, but price did push higher. So there's technically more sellers coming in, but because buyers are so frantic, they're taking prices and they're kind of getting FOMO. So that's why this RSI is kind of given us a leading indicator that we probably were going to get a bit of a pullback today. And we're going to have to wait and see. I think this 127 will be good support. Especially let's draw the volume profile, where it's going to give us the volume on the horizontal axis. There you go, and show you exactly at what price most of the volume is trading at. You can really see that clearly there was a massive gap between 112, right, and 116. Very thin volume. Everyone started to come in. Where was it? Right here at 118, and it aligns perfectly with the 127 fib extension. And you can actually see up here as well these bars sticking out on the volume profile right on the exact level where the 141 extension is. So that kind of also helps to reveal where the big levels are going to be in play. And when you see it line up with your other indicators, it's just more confirmation that you've got the right analysis. Okay, so point of control coming in now at around 118,000. Okay, so bulls have to hold on to that level if we're going to push higher in this rally. But if we do break down from that level, I can clearly see, the 114 and the 110, 110 mark coming back into play. It could take some time, but we can definitely see this pull back into 118. If we can't hold 118, then 114 and then 110. Okay, which would be, again, I think a very good buying opportunity as we gear up for what I think is going to be a very bullish Q3 and Q4. So you're going to want to stick around for that. That's going to do it for today's video. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.